Great. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. I think most folks have been here before, but we do have a couple of new faces. So we're just going to go through, we always do, but just go through and introduce everybody if you want to say your name and organization. I'm Stephanie Cavino from the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative. Phyllis, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm Phyllis Charpentier, president of the Manchog Pond Foundation up here on the Mumford River. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks, Phyllis. Ted?
Hi, Ted Beauvais. I'm the newly elected president of the Blackstone River Watershed Association, taking over from Joanne Holohan, who I see is on the call as well. Good morning.
Good morning. Joanne, you want to go next?
I do. I'm sorry, I have to fix my name. I've become the Blackstone River Watershed Association in and of itself. Anyway, that's because I signed us up for Zoom. I'm Joanne Holohan, and I'm glad to be here. I'm the education coordinator for the BRWA now.
Great. Thanks, Joanne. Kate. Katie, sorry. Oh, we have you on mute, I think, or at least we can't hear you.
I heard Kate, but I'm Caitlin.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
I'm a grad student at Tufts University, and we're just here today to talk to you about some work that we did with the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program this semester.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Caitlin. Katie, did we get your audio here?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There we go. I'm Katie Dugush DiMarzio. I'm here with the DEM Office of Water Resources.
Perfect, thanks. David Tapscott.
I'm David Tapscott. I'm the chair of the Uxbridge Board of Health.
Thanks. Ray?
I'm Ray Kelly. I am from ZAP 50 and also from the Millbury Nature Trails Committee.
Perfect, thanks.
All right.
Nick?
Hi there, this is Nick Cohen from Horsley Witten Group. I'm a planner.
Thanks, Nick. Jen?
Hi everyone, Jen West. I work for the Narragansett Bay Research Reserve.
One of our longer acronyms. Charlie?
Morning, my name is Charlie. I'm a master's in sustainability student at Tufts, and thanks for inviting us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Allison?
Good morning, everyone. This is Allison from Rhode Island DOT. I'm a part of the Office of Stormwater Management.
Thanks. Mark?
Sorry, it took me a minute to unmute. Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Nemorowski. I also work for RIDOT in the stormwater group. I oversee the illicit discharge elimination program. So, thank you.
Yeah. Caitlin? Oh, we had Caitlin already introduce yourself. Sorry. Kelly?
Hi, everyone. Kelly King, also a planner with the Horsley Witten Group.
Thanks. Rebecca?
Good morning, Rebecca Quiñones. I'm with Mass Wildlife. I'm the River and Streams Project Leader and Climate Change Specialist.
Thanks. Deb?
Deb Carey. I'm with Mass Audubon in the Central Region, based at Broad Meadowbrook and Worcester, and I do community engagement and advocacy work.
Thanks. Courtney?
Hello, all. Courtney Schmidt, Narragansett Bay Estuary Program.
Thanks, Courtney. Mayor Keefe. Representative Keefe.
Yay.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I got the time right this time.
You got it.
I'm Mary Keefe. I'm the state representative for the 15th Worcester District, and I'm excited to be part of this group and hope to be regularly here. And I think we have some good legislation coming up in the next session that at some point I'll share with you. It's a beginning conversation around ocean warming, and Dylan Fernandez from Falmouth is introducing some ideas about that. So anyway, great to be here.
Thanks. We definitely have a spot later for just general updates from everybody. So we'd love to hear from you. Kim?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kim Groff. I represent the SNEP, the Southeast New England Program Network, and I work on the Rhode Island, or I'm sorry, Massachusetts side. Good to see everybody today.
It's good when they get confused, when everyone's doing a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
Donna.
Hello, I'm Donna Williams. I am president of the Blackstone River Coalition and also serve on the board of the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor.
Thanks, Donna. Emily.
Hey everybody, my name is Emily Vogler. I'm a professor at RISD. I teach landscape architecture and working on a project this semester or this year called the Blackstone River Commons.
Peter Friedland. I'm going to ask to unmute you, Peter. Peter works at Worcester State University. I will do a minor introduction for him there until we can get his audio. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. And so Allison, just so you don't feel bad, I know you did our presentation last month and came late, and then we're supposed to have our partner, Janine Silversmith from Rhode Island Environmental Education Association, and she's not here yet. So we will postpone her original presentation here, and we will jump right on over to, as long as you guys are ready. I know I told you probably more like 10:30. You guys comfortable presenting now is for the two of you? Or would you prefer to wait?
I'm just gonna send a message to the rest of our group members who I think are popping on in just a second. I'm gonna see if they can come on now. So give us like 2 minutes.
No worries.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've plenty of other things to talk about too. So if we want to jump into subgroup updates first. So the first is the municipal, oh, we got Peter now. Okay. The first is the municipal resolutions. So thank you to David who presented to the Uxbridge Concom. And I'll give you a second to talk about that. We also presented to the Mendon Land Use Board, and they recommended that this be passed and sent it over to the Board of Selectmen. So we're waiting to hear back about a meeting there. I also have I presented to Northbridge Open Space Residential Open Space Plan folks, and I'll be presenting to the Northbridge Board of Selectmen on Monday. David, do you want to talk about Uxbridge?
Just briefly, Stephanie presented to the board, the select board, as we're trying to call them now, a month ago, and they were very cautious in terms of their acceptance of the resolution proposal. So they sort of farmed out to various other organizations, and I presented to the Conservation Commission Monday night, and they're pretty much on board already. The commission, or not the commission, the committee members, as is the health agent, and basically did a short presentation at the end of a long meeting, and they got it, and they're going to discuss and issue an opinion, which hopefully will help the select board to make a decision about whether to support the resolution and how. And they may have revisions to it and all that, but actually it was a good exercise because it serves to educate the town government, even if it doesn't go through the select board. We're sort of spreading the word and getting people on board. And there were people on board individually for water chestnut pulls. It's part of our recent MVP application also. So we're sort of dovetailing the support of this organization and Stephanie's support with local stuff. And I guess that wraps it up.
Thank you. Yeah, some of our towns need a lot more information. And then I have other towns, I think it was Upton, that we sent them the information and they were like, yeah, sure, we'll pass this. Steph doesn't need to do a presentation. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. That's what you would like. So we're all a little bit different. Any other comments about the municipal resolutions? For context, for I know a few people that are new, we're just asking municipalities to pass resolutions that are non-binding just to be in support of the needs assessment report that created the collaborative and then the collaborative itself, and note some of the events happening with ZAP coming up this summer and fall. So next is ZAP, and I just found out that you guys have an Instagram page. So I put your Facebook and Instagram on the agenda that I'd shared, and I'll send it in the notes as well. Ray, do you have other updates for us?
Yeah, can I share my screen?
Yep, give me 1 second. I should anticipate this at this point because I know that you do this.
Pretty much.
Okay, you are a co-host.
Excellent. I'll take my duties seriously here. So good morning. Thank you for this time again, Stephanie. I appreciate it, and the ZAP team certainly appreciates it. If I could just get this started. There we go. So a lot of you are very aware of ZAP and the major details. So jumping right in, our focus certainly going forward, as we have 99 days left until August 27th. There's a countdown running on the website. We're building our team and we're implementing our plan, or plans, plural. So on August 27th, we have the cleanup and green up and improvement projects across the watershed. And then on September 10th, we're celebrating Operation ZAP 1972 as a foundational turning point. And that same day, we also want to get people participating in outdoor activities and tourism that are possible because of the 50 years of progress. There's certainly a lot of things going on in the meantime, in memory of ZAP, or using kind of the ZAP name, ZAP momentum. Our focus has been to within the ZAP organization, our focus has been to get folks organized on that one day as much as we can, and that's one of the pushes. The third leg, really, our third main goal is to give something back to all the partners, all the local organizations when we're done. ZAP 50 is a short-term thing in and of itself. Certainly, I think ZAP will survive for a long time. It survived this long in some way, shape, or form, at least in memory. But practically, if we can hand a large number of people over to the local organizations, bolster the local organizations, really push them forward, we think that's doing a great service long term. So what are we doing now? We've had great success working with the many municipalities and groups locally. We have about 30 cities and towns committed, or at least interested. We're still working on details. We had a little bit of a delay as folks were focused on Earth Day, but now that Earth Day has passed, we have more oomph when we have conversations. So it's just moving right along. Our community captains list is growing. They're critically important to staying locally connected to all of these cities and towns throughout the whole watershed. And we're still looking for more community captains, but they are doing a great job connecting us and connecting within their towns. Press has started contacting us, and we're sending out regular press releases. So you may start to notice more stuff in the local papers, online, and we're doing our best to keep the name out there. Online, Stephanie did mention the Instagram. I didn't include this here yet. zaptheblackstone.com is definitely our hub for information and contact. It's also where people can go to sign up as volunteers, sign up as captains, and also submit projects. So just go to the website. It's right there on the front page. The history of ZAP is also being improved in the content. We have links, and we really want to connect people from 1972 to now. There is a terrific page about the Zapsters from 1972. Folks are submitting memories, and they are talking about what they did back in 1972, their experiences. It's amazing. some of the stuff they put in there. They put in some pictures, they put in, things that they were thinking and short little blurbs. It's great stuff. Also on Facebook, follow us, like us, post. We're trying to get the name out there. So as much as you can help us there, we appreciate it. And as Stephanie mentioned, on Instagram. So on the action side, or the organizational side, how we staying organized, we're meeting every other week. We have a board meeting, then we have a steering team meeting. We're trying to make it as streamlined as possible for the people who want to join us. 45 minutes and you get, connected right with what's going on. The community captains, we're meeting once a month on a Wednesday. I don't know when the next one is after May 25th, but that's the next one coming up. So if you are interested, if you know someone that's interested, please join us. So what do we need? We're trying to help you. So can you please help us help you? We need community captains, certainly volunteers and steering team members. All those folks are, either right now in high demand, or certainly the volunteers more the day of as we move forward. But we also need projects. We're trying to connect people and projects. And those projects can come from people, organizations, municipalities, employers. We'll take them anywhere we can. We don't guarantee that we can fulfill every project, but we are going to do our best to connect people and projects and get those things done. Also sponsors, and that's kind of a broad thing. People, I think, generally think commercial sponsors, but I think municipalities are sponsoring us quite a bit, either in time or effort or resources. So we're also doing commercial, with the local trash haulers. We're pushing things along there. So we're going to have a lot of sponsorship in a variety of ways. So we also need support from the partners. How could you help support us? Direct support and also volunteers. Register your organization. Nominate at least one liaison to the steering team meetings. So far, we have a few different folks involved that are, more or less official liaisons from groups. We'd like to have one from every watershed group. We also would like you to notify your membership, push for people to be involved, submit projects, and any contacts you have for municipalities, groups outside of the collaborative, Boy Scouts, Elk Club, whatever, potential sponsors, we'll take all that information. Come on. And if you can promote our website on your website, we appreciate it. And our events, at your events, the BRWA especially has been very helpful in this. Certainly, Stephanie and other groups, but we were at the annual meeting just a few days ago, and I was able to speak, and it was terrific. So I really appreciate that, Joanne and her whole team. So there's a lot of things that individuals can do within the different days. Certainly, we're doing a lot of planning at the moment, but marketing, communication. But as we get closer, even now, logistics, the celebration activities on September 10th, and all these other things, we can use help in a lot of places. Right now, I'd say it's a very strong core group, but we can always add more members to that core, and we could use the help. So, in conclusion, stay connected, get involved, and these are the ways you can do it. You can go right to zaptheblackstone.com, and on our Facebook, or you could email us info@, and we'll do our best to stay connected with you, keep you informed, and that's all I have for the moment. Any questions? Yeah, David.
Can you give a couple of examples of projects that have been proposed, just in case I have people interested?
Sure. So the base level, the simplest thing certainly is always a cleanup, and we have a lot of those cleanups planned. We also have other things planned that are more, kind of either long-term or, more improvement-based, like the Millbury Nature Trails Committee that I'm on is going to be working on the bikeway. We're going to be certainly doing cleanup but we also plan to do trail maintenance. Trying to think of some others. There's a list of things that you can do that we don't necessarily have a specific project set up there for it yet. Storm drain painting. I know that's a big issue that people are interested in. And I know Worcester has a whole program that will support people that go out there and do it. And, they'll be there on the spot. I know the other towns maybe don't have that as much. There's also been discussion of signage, Boy Scout, Girl Scout projects. We're pushing in a variety of ways, and things are definitely developing, but anything that, is within the watershed that improves either, the river itself, certainly, or the watershed as a whole, the resources, the land, any way that people can further enjoy the watershed, further be involved with the watershed.
Okay, great. Thank you. That helps. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ray? Okay. I know a couple people have joined us that didn't get to introduce themselves. If you want to take just a second. Emily Wood.
Hi, nice to meet you all. Yeah, my name is Emily Wood. I am part of the Tufts team that is here today, so I'm sure they already introduced themselves, but I'm excited to give you guys a presentation and overview what we worked on with MVP. So nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Emily. Susan Gorelick.
Hi, my name is Susan Gorelick. I am with my nonprofit called the Coalition Center for Environmental Sustainability, which focuses on sustainable food system as environmental and social and economic justice. So which involves a lot of water related. So yes, I'm part of it.
Thanks, Susan. And Jen Hager.
Hey everyone, I am Jen Hager. I'm the town's Planning and Economic Development Director with the town of Sutton. I've gotten to know a little bit more about the group and Stephanie through our MVP application that we just submitted for some work actually along the Mumford in the village of Manchac on some flooding issues. And I'm just very interested to kind of sit in and finally have 2 minutes to sit in and see more about what you're doing. And as Ray was talking, the wheels were already turning on how we could maybe participate within the town and at least get the word out there, but maybe have some of our own cool Sutton projects to kind of contribute to that effort. So I'm just going to kind of hang back and hear and learn and thanks for the help Stephanie's given us to date, and hopefully we can return that favor.
Thanks, Jen. Did I miss anybody else that joined? Okay, perfect. The next thing, and I think what we'll do is if we want to finish the subgroup updates, and then Jen West kindly agreed to talk about Rhode Island RIA, we say, right? We'll have her do that little kind of intro on what the organization is and how it connects to the collab. And then I'll pass it over to the Tufts students so that I'm not making you scramble when I told you 10:30 and then suddenly it's 10 o'clock and you have to do it. So take your time. Bike and Greenway updates. Is there any update there? I know we don't have our local champion and Dick Moore present today to talk about that. Okay, any water quality updates from groups that you want to share? I know that BRC was looking for a new water quality monitoring coordinator, and I think that you're hiring someone. Is that correct? I don't know if Donna's the right person to ask.
Looking at who else is here, yes, I am the right person to ask. And we have, as far as I know, the offer has not been made yet, but we have 2 excellent candidates. We're very pleased. So that's as much as I can say.
That's wonderful news, though. I know you put it out there and you were looking for a new person, so hopefully we'll have more news there. For universities, are there any updates on projects that some of our universities are working on? Again, I know we only have some of the folks here. No Worcester State today. Oh, we have Peter from Worcester State. I don't know if there's anything, Peter, that you wanted to share. Nope. Totally fine. We can skip through. The last one is Expedition 2022. I added this on as sort of a subgroup because it's another group that does meet outside of this, and there's a lot going on there. Emily, I wrote an email. Oh, go ahead, Susan.
So I am not, I mean, I am no longer with any universities, but I did mention about this is 6 university consortium. It's called Envision Narragansett. They are completing now. It's a landscape and architecture departments of 6 different universities, including RISD, Roger Williams University, and URI in the state, and Brown University. And they have talked about climate change and resilience along the shoreline. And I think it is relevant to what we are doing, the watershed and going in there. So I just, again, I'm not directly, related to them because because the only reason I'm connected is because one of the CC4S program involves resilience in that area. So I just want you to know that they are going to have a presentation showcased at June 4th in the water fire in Providence. So it's open to public. The work they did is phenomenal. How they envisioning how we can make more sustainable and resilient. I thought it would be really helpful for all of us who are here.
Yeah, that's great. Can you just say the name of that one more time, or put a link in the chat?
It's called Envision Narragansett or something. I can send you more links and then you can share with everyone, directly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We'll put that on our list of events coming up too. There's a lot going on that day.
Yeah, I know.
Emily, I'm sorry, I wrote you an email and I never actually pressed send when I got into the office. But do you want to give a quick update? I will do that now. Do you want to give a quick update on all the things we've been working on with Expedition?
Sure. Let's see. So I've been working with Stephanie and John Marsland and many others to start to plan and think about a trip down the Blackstone River for the summer. The trip will have a couple of different goals. One is for us just to get out on the river and to explore it from Worcester down to Providence, but also using it as an opportunity for bringing, kind of having kind of specific moments along the trip where we are bringing in kind of different people to conversation specific about, talk about specific issues on the river. And so trying to figure out exactly what those targeted conversations are and where and how we might be able to use this event in order to advance some of the work from the needs assessment and some of the other kind of key issues that we're trying to address on the river. So we have a couple of points along the trip where we will be having more public, events. We'll be doing an event at Rivers Bend on, do you remember the date on that? Is it the Friday, I think 10th, the 12th? On Friday, the 12th, we'll be doing an event at Rivers Bend. And then, what's that?
I just want to say August. I don't know if you heard that part.
Sorry, August. Yeah. And then a final kind of event at the very end of the paddle, when we will be paddling from kind of along the Seekonk, from kind of midway through the Seekonk all the way around to India Point Park, to then do a kind of final kind of celebration at the Narragansett Brewery. And so the goal of this is to have specific moments along the way where we're able to bring in different representatives as well as the press in order to push forward some of these conversations about the river. And we're fully aware that we will not be paddling the river in its entirety. There will be sections that we will be having to portage around, 19 dams plus other kind of areas that we will be having to kind of, figure out other ways to get around. But our hope is just to get out on the river and to really explore it from being on the river and understanding all the various conditions it travels through, and be able to kind of use it in some ways as in some ways for publicity, but also to bring together a really interesting group of people to have a conversation about the future of the river. And so we're really looking forward to the trip, and we'll definitely be providing a lot more information as we kind of finalize some of these specific moments and points of kind of contact and conversations that we're trying to curate along the length of it.
Perfect. And I will be probably hopping out of this meeting. I'm hoping we can maybe end a couple minutes early here so that I can go over to Providence and meet with some folks that are involved with SNAP, including a regional EPA coordinator or administrator, as well as some folks from Restore America's Estuaries, et cetera, talking about how important the SNAP funding is in this region and the work that they do. And hoping to maybe steal some of them as potential speakers for our event. So we are just getting together some of our speakers. So if folks have really good contacts, please let me know. And I would love to steal those. And Mary, yeah, you're also a wonderful one. We might be reaching out to you as well to talk about the very first event in Worcester when we kind of kick off, if you'd be interested in speaking with us.
Okay, that'd be great. I'm also, I've had brief conversation with Representative LaBouffe about this. And so I just wrote, get specific about what we want to do in Worcester. Can you give me the date for On the River? What is that date again?
It's a 4-day event, and it's going to start on August 11th, which is a Thursday. So we'll start that morning, and we're hoping to do something at the Visitor Center in Worcester. We have to get our permit from DCR still for that, but we're hoping to have a couple of speakers at that point, and we'd love to have you.
Okay, great.
Perfect. Any other questions about the paddle event?
And also, I would just say that, one of our hopes with the trip is to really kind of have clear message, about what are the key issues, what are the key things that we're asking for, right, in terms of kind of addressing some of the issues on the river. And so, right now we've been talking about, a couple of key issues, in terms of fish passage, climate change, the greenway, water quality. And I think those are some of the key topics that we're forefronting, but any other ideas, that you all have from your kind of amazing experience and work on the river, we'd love to just hear from you about, what are some of the key things that you think we should be kind of really targeting, in terms of what are kind of some very immediate kind of next steps, where and how can we leverage this trip in order to advance the work that's happening on the river? Are there specific asks? Are there specific people who should be part of this conversation in order to kind of really try to get at the core, right, of some of these issues that many of you have been working on for many, many, many years. So so very open to suggestions, and trying to, unlike the previous Expedition 2000 that had a lot of different kind of stops and events and organized events, our plan is just to do a couple of very targeted ones where we're really highlighting, here are the 4 or 5 issues that we really want to be forefronting on the river. So any suggestions, we'd really appreciate everybody's kind of participation and feedback on that.
Yeah, Susan.
I was wondering if maybe I missed it, if there is some components for environmental justice.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to see more of, connecting using all wide range of diverse groups so we can use this watershed that we all share as the common, that underscores the common, universal, common, there's that connecting us. So that's what I like to see. But also I think we have to be very careful by just focusing on too much of this biopark and native indigenous. We don't want to have a backfire, because all these things, environmental justice, affects all of us. Mm-hmm. And so I think that giving a good balance would be a really good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree, Susan. And I think that's definitely one of our goals with the trip, right, is to bring in kind of the multiple and diverse histories of the river and also talk about the diverse communities and how they're kind of impacted, by the various issues on the river. And so that's 100% one of our goals, in both putting together the core team of paddlers, but also in thinking about some of the targeted kind of, events and ways that we're trying to do outreach on the river. So 100% in agreement on that. And any suggestions you have about that, we really appreciate anything, because I agree that it's really important to be forefronting those discussions.
Stephanie, if I could, Emily, I have one thought that you might consider as well, sort of a Krista McAuliffe of the paddle, perhaps a teacher. And I'm thinking of one from Sutton in particular who would be a good candidate for something like that. But having a teacher on the trip with you might be a good idea and highlight the importance of educating everyone about the river.
Yeah, excellent. No, I think that's great. And I think the question of where and how, how some of this work ties into some of the schools. And, I think that's something we're still trying to think through, and I think we all agree on kind of that importance of education, especially with the youth. So it's, I think the question of where and how, whether it's this event, kind of bringing teachers along or thinking about, kind of the possibility of, future curriculums that are kind of tied to the river, which I think, there's obviously a lot of discussions about that already, but I think that's a great, kind of question is like where and how to forefront that in the conversation, whether it's through a specific teacher or through other ways of bringing people together.
And in general, I know we have not sent out something really specific yet, but if folks want to kind of save the date of 2 dates, so one is Friday, August 12th, we'll be working in partnership with DCR and having that event that Emily mentioned at Riverbend Farm. So we're anticipating maybe like 4 o'clock or so. If any of the groups that are part of the collaborative or groups that you're part of in general want to come and table and talk about your programming, we'd love to have you. We're also looking to get things like food trucks there and maybe some performers, make it kind of a fun family-friendly festival. So feel free to save that date. And then the last date also is that last day, which is August 14th. It's a Sunday. And we're going to have hopefully a lot of boats coming with us that last mile or two of the paddle, depending on your paddling experience and if you think, if you feel comfortable or not. But we've got some great partners together, and we're hopefully going to get a bunch of boats kind of showing up at the very end at Narragansett Beer, who's agreed to host our sort of celebration at the very end. And we'll hopefully have some great speakers there as well. So if you're available that weekend, we'd love to have you participate. So save those dates and we'll get more information for you soon. Any other questions, comments on the paddle? And if you want to be more involved in it, feel free to just shoot me an email or shoot Emily an email, put something in the chat, and we'll definitely follow up with you. Okay. Awesome. We have 2 other people join us since we did introductions again. So I'm just going to ask if you wanted to introduce yourself. One is the famous Bill Napolitano.
Really? Where is he? I'm Bill Napolitano. I'm an environmental planner with Serped, and I've just been following this, and there's very familiar faces here. In fact, I thought I had the wrong channel for a minute. I tuned in on a different Zoom, but no, it sounds like you're doing some great work here, Steph, and you definitely got the right people on this.
Thanks,
Good to
Bill.
see you all.
Yeah. And then Jesse Davis.
Hello, everyone. Jesse Davis from the City of Worcester. I'm the Sustainability Project Manager in the Department of Sustainability and Resilience. Thanks, Steph.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I'm sorry we have such a kind of discoordinated agenda today, but we're going to pop around a little. I'm going to offer Ken West, if you want to tell us a little bit about RIA and how they are connected to Blackstone, some of the things we work on. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to screen share, let me know, but we're happy to just hear.
Thanks, Steph. Hi, everyone. I do not have a presentation, so no need to screen share. It's sort of serendipitous that this is the first meeting of the collaborative that I can make since you've been meeting, and it happens to be the day that, unfortunately, Janine, we send our apologies, is unavailable, and In addition to my position at the Narragansett Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve, or NEBNR, I actually am on the board of RIA and am the president-elect of RIA. So I said I probably should step up in Janine's absence and just tell you a little bit about who we are. So I will not speak for very long. I definitely would like to entertain any questions or ideas for collaboration. But the Rhode Island Environmental Education Association, we're really a network of professionals and organizations committed to promoting high quality environmental education that increases the environmental literacy of all children and adults in our state, which is important because it was interesting when I was asked to join the board. I said, I think you might be looking for somebody else because I don't really do environmental education anymore, which I think when a lot of folks think of environmental education, they think of outdoor learning, K through 12, non-formal education, and that is certainly part of it. And I did that in my previous life and I love it. And it's really important, but it's also just everything else, right? I like to refer to it as K through gray. So it's beyond K through 12, it's beyond, it's just for everyone. And there's many different ways to get at it. So just wanted to let you know that pretty much everything we all do absolutely falls within the mission of RIA. So we have about 50 organizational members, probably you all are within that 50. We have a lot of individual members. That may include teachers, naturalists, environmental educators, obviously, state, federal, nonprofit folks, many, many others. And it's really, we like to summarize it as we don't do the EE, the environmental education necessarily, we support those who do. So we foster collaborations, sponsor professional development, gather and disseminate information, promote the public understanding of it all, and just support the organizations who are doing it on the ground as much as possible. So we have, I just made a couple notes to make sure I didn't forget anything, but I wanted to let you know. So we have 16 board members. And if you are interested in being a board member sometime in the future, or you have someone in mind that would be a good board member, please let us know. We have monthly board meetings. Every third meeting is an open meeting. So we encourage you to join us. Our next open meeting in July is actually at the Flatbread Pizza Company in Providence. So that's being paired with sort of a little fundraiser, and from 5 to 9 p.m., a certain percentage of the proceeds will go to RIA. So please come, even takeout counts. So if you order a pizza.
What was the date on that?
That would be July. I just said our July meeting. When is it? That would be good to know, huh? I just got back from 2 weeks of travel yesterday, so forgive me if I'm really flaky. So it would be
great.
July 12th. Flatbread Pizza Company, come and join us. And so we have a lot of resources. Basically, everything I'm telling you could probably find on our website. So we are redoing our website to make it more user-friendly, more inclusive. We have a really robust environmental resource, like educator resource directory. So you could find, what you're looking for to, based on the topic, audience, a number of variables. And we are redoing our website. So that's going to be a lot more robust. We're also going through a strategic planning process very soon. And there's tons of resources you can find on there, EE best practices, jobs, professional development opportunities, the state environmental learning plan. And then we also have, we provide professional development series for teachers. We have more general educational opportunities like lunch and learns. We have our annual summit that is really great every year. And I don't know, some of you may have attended the one on April, was it April? My gosh. April 30th. When was that? Yeah, I can't believe it was that long ago. But we had Joanne Ayuso, Kufa Castro, and Tanae Gooday Urban talk about environmental justice and the connection between trees and environmental justice in frontline communities. So that was really great. And what else do I want to tell you? We have committees that you do not you do need to be a member to join, but you don't need to be on the board. And we're always looking for folks. We have community engagement, fundraising. We have advocacy. Janine Silversmith, who is our executive director extraordinaire, has been working tirelessly on the Climate Literacy Act, for example. That's in the legislature this session. We have a Rhode Island Assessment for Environmental Literacy Committee that's part of a bigger statewide assessment that we're designing to help us understand the environmental literacy of our students. And that's really sort of a keystone project of RIA, first in the nation to really do it at this scale. And it's pretty impressive. What else did I want to tell you all? I just kind of opened the fire hose of RIA information. So it's really a great, not that I'm biased or anything, but really great group of people. It really is, because I've been on a lot of boards, and this is such a really productive, high functioning, really great group of people. So we'd love for you to join us, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have ideas for collaborations or anything like that. So I think I'll just stop there and open it up to questions. Sorry, Janine would have done a way better job, but you're stuck with me, so.
No problem. We're happy to have you. I had one thought already, and John Marsland wasn't able to come today. He's taking a friend to a doctor's appointment, he said, but he was, I know, working with some schools on this Blue Mind program and thinking how being on near around water reduces stress and anxiety. And he's gotten a grant to take that program into some schools. And he's also pairing that with the Kitticock Speaks movie, which if no one's seen that yet, I can post a link online, but it's about an 11-minute long video talking about the Blackstone River with its original indigenous name of Kitticook, and it's narrated from the voice of the river going through the seasons. And it's really wonderful. So if there are opportunities to maybe connect with Friends of the Blackstone and talk about that program, and I know Joanne will, or Ted will talk about this in a minute too, but BRWA promoted a video, Packagug Where the River Bends, which also is looking at indigenous culture around the Nipmuc in Worcester. They're the largest of the 3 Nipmuc villages, which is now present day Worcester, was Packagug. So maybe we've talked about maybe an opportunity to share both of those films and learn more. I know that one's more Massachusetts specific, but I think learning about our neighbors is also a good thing. So maybe we can have a conversation about that.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. I'm taking notes. I also wanted to mention a big thing I forgot. If you're not on the RIA listserv, I think many of you are, you don't have to be a member, but that's like at the bare minimum, you could share information such as these great programs happening to get it out. And there is I could direct you, I'll put it in the chat, our website, and a link on our website where you could join, and you're welcome to get information out that way as well. Thanks, Steph.
I have a question too, Jen. So as part of this work, we're also doing a letter writing campaign, which some of you might be familiar with. So we have these letters and kind of templates that we have that we're asking people to write letters to the Blackstone River. And we're kind of, the prompt is, if you could have a conversation with the Blackstone River, what would you say? And so we've just kind of been doing a mass printing and getting kind of all the materials together. But one of our goals is to get it out really kind of widely within the watershed, and potentially into schools, and, you know, kind of to hear a range of voices and ages of people participating. And so I would, and people have suggested actually that I reach out to RIA about this work. And so I don't know whether we could have a follow-up call, or, you know, just also for everybody else on the call to be aware of, you know, we'd love, you know, if you want a stack of letters, let me know. Our hope is just to kind of get it out there and start to get these letters into people's hands so that we can include that in some of the materials that we're developing this year. And so anyways, it'd be great to connect, Jen, about that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Emily. I'm making a note. We'll
Great.
Connect.
We can set up a meeting with you guys too, and maybe John too, and we can chat.
Great.
Other folks, comments, questions for Jen? Great. Well, thank you for pinch hitting there, Jen. You did a great job. Lots of good connections and things to follow up on. With that, I will hand it over to our test team. So who should I make a screen sharing person?
Go ahead and make me a screen sharing person. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, you are all set.
Perfect. Okay, let's see if I can make this happen. There we go. Can everyone see my screen okay? Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you folks for having us. Like I said at the beginning, my name is Caitlin McLennan, and I'm a graduate environmental policy and planning student at Tufts University. Our project as part of the field projects course at Tufts is fostering mutually beneficial partnerships in climate resilience planning and action. We did this project with the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program, working to sort of understand how we can foster relationships that are beneficial for both municipalities and community-based organizations in climate resilience planning. And so this just really quickly is our faces. I'm here today with Camille, Charlie, and Emily. Lamia couldn't join us, but we wanted to recognize that we're all from different places and we're coming at this with a sort of regional lens. And today we're just going to go over some of our goals and motivations, research questions, some of our analysis and findings, and really focus on our recommendations and deliverables. So for our project introduction, these are just a couple of our project goals. So like I said, sort of at the beginning, we were really interested in stakeholder engagement and how we could try and engage CBOs from a restorative perspective that was trying to build like long-term relationships between municipal leaders and community-based organizations already doing climate resilience and equity planning work. And then we also had a really strong note of environmental justice and equity throughout our entire project, recognizing that a lot of municipalities in Massachusetts have diverse and different perspectives of environmental justice and equity and how we can really center that in our community resilience work. And so coming from those project goals, we started with these research questions. I'm just going to read them to you guys. So first of all, we were interested in how municipalities and community-based orgs could build these restorative relationships with one another to increase social climate resiliency. We were also interested in uncovering what tools and best practices can help us develop those relationships and really incite that successful collaboration through the MVP program. And additionally, we wanted to make sure that we could effectively communicate the interdisciplinary nature of climate change and climate resilience across sectors, right? So we're interested in how municipalities are talking about it. We're also interested in how we can support community-based organizations through municipalities in the MVP program in talking about climate change in a very diverse and interdisciplinary way. All righty, I'll pass it over.
Thanks, Caitlin. I'm just going to talk super briefly about our analysis and findings. If you want to go to the next slide. We used a variety of methods in the study to inform the final deliverables and recommendations that Emily and Camille are going to talk about, but this started with a literature review and case studies to establish some of the best practices in climate resilience planning and community engagement, from environmental justice to regional collaboration and different tools to incite collaboration between municipalities and community-based organizations, as well as regional planning agencies. And then these are just a few of our of the case studies that we highlighted in the report, which I won't talk much about for the sake of time, but there's a lot of really great info and key takeaways from those reports, from those case studies within our actual report. And so, like I said, we collected data through a series of semi-structured interviews, and including one focus group. And from those interviews, we identified several areas of key findings through our analysis that were supported by the review, the literature review and case studies. And to start, just some of the success stories, we heard a number of inspiring stories of innovative community engagement that really helped us tailor our tools and recommendations to the needs of municipalities and community-based organizations, from the community liaison resiliency hubs in the city of Medford to regional collaborations on flood resilience in the Housatonic Valley. We also gathered some insight into the relationships and different dynamics between municipalities and CBOs, and definitely, walked away with a strong desire or sensed a strong desire to work together to fill in some of the gaps in community engagement and reach more common understandings. And then it was also critical that we collect some data on the most common barriers to engagement from different perspectives. And we'll talk a little bit more about, those in the report. And then I think Emily's going to touch briefly on those and how we're addressing those through our recommendations. And then fourthly, we definitely observed some different regional trends and challenges within Massachusetts. These really all collectively emphasize the importance of community context and showed that there's really no one size fits all solution for creating engagement with communities. And then lastly, if you're familiar with the MVP program and some of the resources they offer, the environmental justice toolkit and the community engagement attachment to the request for responses are two kind of concrete documents that we were tasked with updating. And so we received some really valuable feedback on how municipalities are using those tools and recommendations for improving community engagement guidance to reflect a broader range of communities. So with that, I'll pass it over to Emily.
Sorry, I'll take over for takeaways. My name is Camille. Caitlin, you can move to the next slide. Thank you. And so with our report, ultimately, we ended up providing recommendations in two parts, recommendations to MVP, which we have listed here, 4 primary key recommendations, tools to consider within the engagement, from PADI to advancing and increasing stakeholder mapping, as well as the rural climate dialogue, recommendations to adjust and address their grant structure, how they fund CBOs, implementing and adopting a community liaison model, as well as expanding the timeline for the grants that they provide, both the planning grants as well as the action grants, to make it easier for municipalities to work with, especially as they aim to bring on more community-based organizations. Next, there was accessibility, offering diverse case studies like the ones we had presented previously, providing workshops on the toolkits that they've creating, primarily the environmental justice toolkit. It's easy to sort of provide a resource for CBOs, municipalities to read, but to have an opportunity to walk through it with them and define terms is much better. And then as we speak of terms, simplifying the terminology within this space of environmental work and sustainability. There are a lot of buzzwords that we can tend to throw around that may sort of increase that disconnect between the communities that we work with and the goals that we set out to achieve. And lastly with that is coordination, supporting regional and municipal coordination in the planning process. Next slide, please. In one of our interviews, Julie Wormser, Senior Policy Advisor for the Mystic River Watershed Association, had this brilliant quote, which I'll read. One of the things that we are trying to do as a regional organization is to create ways to systematically share power. How can we bring people in contact with decision makers in ways that the decision makers will respect and listen to? How can we not be a gatekeeper for power and resources? And this was a big question that came up. I agree with, I think that's Stephanie in the chat. Yes. Next slide, Caitlin. Thank you. And so our last set of recommendations, one of 2, was towards municipalities, offering 3 recommendations: capacity, to expand and increase communication and pay attention to the transparency that's involved. Again, in what it is that municipalities are dealing with and what they're able to offer, as well as the capacity and sort of being able to provide and lean on regional agencies for collaboration. Then there's equity, which involves sort of building a common understanding amongst the communities that we are working with, and then integrating equity throughout projects. Every municipality and every community can increase and highlight equity in different ways. And so the final one is outreach, compensating those who are involved in the process, offering different range of meeting times and meeting structures, as well as barrier-free communication. And now I'll pass it on to Emily.
Great, thank you. So part of our work with MVP in the very beginning, they really kind of mentioned the importance of having concrete tools and guidance for municipalities to use in this work. And so we created a series of deliverables. This is kind of an example of the fact sheets we created, because one of the things we heard from the interviews is there is a huge barrier for municipalities in reaching out to the community in kind of finding the intersection of what they do and climate change and how it will impact the community in a really tangible way. In addition, finding kind of intersections between the work that impacts climate change that municipalities do and the work that community-based organizations do. So we created 4 fact sheets. These are 3 of them. So food system and climate change, transportation and climate change, and housing and climate change. And these really provide brief overviews of how these intersect, how they impact people, and how kind of municipalities and CBOs can really find common ground to start working from. So we can go to the next slide and I'll show you a few of the other deliverables we have. Caitlin, one other, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Great. So yeah, in addition to the fact sheets, like Charlie said, we did want to make sure that in all of our research and all of our interviews, the tools that MVP already provides to municipalities on the issue of kind of reaching out and communicating with community-based organizations were updated with everything that we were finding. So we did update the EJ toolkit that they provide. And then also we created basically a mini community engagement 101 toolkit, which kind of answers the request for responses attachment they have, which kind of really provides all of the detailed learnings in a very digestible format for municipalities to dig into the community-based organizations and their partnerships, and kind of asks a lot of questions and answers a lot of questions. And then additionally, we provided scripts and icebreakers. One of the things that MVP mentioned to us is that everyone is on a kind of a different level in their comfort with reaching out to community-based organizations. So for those municipalities that haven't reached out to community-based organizations before, don't know where to begin, and don't know how to start these conversations, we created these scripts and icebreakers. And you can kind of see the image there is in the format of a comic strip. So really making these very digestible, readable, and accessible. So yeah, those are our deliverables. I think there's a QR code. I don't know if we want to, share that, but if you wanted to take a picture with your cell phone, that should access all of our fact sheets and other deliverables. So that is what we did in our project.
Thank you so much, guys. I really thought you did such a great job, and I was so impressed with the work you put in here. It was so professional, and you have some really good, really good deliverables, really good integration of making this accessible, like you said. So I'd love if anyone you have a ton of questions or a ton of comments here saying great job in the chat. Can you put the QR code back up for a minute? Oh, and there's the link.
I just popped a link with our report, all of our fact sheets, and our comic strips in the chat. It's a little more updated than the information we had on our QR code. Yeah.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Any questions or comments for this group? Other than where are you all working next semester, and can we steal you, obviously?
Awesome. Yeah, Ray.
How long of a time frame was this work done? Over a year or 2 years?
We had, is it 3 months, guys? Since 3 months.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm impressed. Like I didn't this when I was in grad school.
Yeah, we had the course of 1 semester, basically. Yeah.
Impressive.
Very impressive. Yeah. Rebecca?
Yes, could you tell us a little bit about the sectors that were included in your community-based organizations? Were they primarily environmentally based, or were there more environmental justice? Can you just talk a little bit about the breadth of the diversity in the groups you worked with?
Yes. So that was kind of one of the unfortunate gaps we had it was basically all environmentally based organizations that we spoke to. One of the things that MVP wanted to do was expand the outreach that municipalities to do beyond environmentally based CBOs and really dive into like the housing CBOs, the food security CBOs, which is why we provided those fact sheets. But we unfortunately did not get to interview any of those due to some restrictions, time obviously, but also just connections and contacts that MVP had.
Any other questions, comments? And in the meantime, we had 2 more people join us, actually, if you wanted to introduce yourselves. One, and very relevant, is Hillary King from the MVP program.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
And that's actually really good timing because I just transferred from my phone to my computer screen so I can present myself. So yeah, really, really great work. And we're excited to have this foundation to kind of build off of moving forward.
Thanks, Hillary. And Paul also joined us, Paul Matheson.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Matheson, WPI. This is thanks for the presentations. They're very interesting. Sorry to arrive late. I have to go through all the materials on this, but it seems very helpful, especially since the trying to connect up such a big thing around here. So it's great value.
Thanks. Yeah, that's why we record everything, so you can always see it later. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us today. And it was so last minute. I think it was like 6 days ago that I said, hey, can you do a presentation for us? This is great work. So
Stephanie, just one thought that occurred to me, having worked with MVP back in 2017 and it's kind of the early days and trying to get communities to even understand what it is and why they might want to participate, to now where I think we have pretty good saturation across the Commonwealth amongst the towns. But the initial MVP efforts were done, and now there's projects that are being done to implement. But if groups weren't involved at the get-go, then maybe that initial MVP effort doesn't include some of the things that it could have or should have. So how do you go back? I suspect it was originally a 5-year revision timeframe, I think, Hillary, on the MVP. Is that still the way it works?
So with MVP, we have an annual reporting right now. So it's basically like a 2-page form, saying what your top priorities were, if your core team is still meeting, and, what kinds of things are you working on, and what kinds of things can MVP team help you with. So we are currently in the process of updating our planning process to think about what that update process might look like, because we do have, I think, 98% of the Commonwealth is, has an MVP plan or is working toward completing their MVP plan by June 30 right now. So we are thinking about what that next phase looks like, and how we can, better engage more sections of the community as a whole. So it's coming. We're not quite there yet. We'll check back in next spring, and I think there will be some updates and probably webinars and other learning opportunities and resources.
I have a Hillary question maybe also. And so I know that out of our Blackstone Watershed communities, all 29 have been through the program now. Our last 2 just finished up. I know you were part of that as well, and getting certified. And we're still working on it in Rhode Island. We have a few, I think 8 of our 10 communities have not been through it yet. Do you work at all, or do your colleagues work at all with Rhode Island and share these types of findings and best practices, since we're a couple of years ahead of them with their municipal resilience program?
So I think the short answer is not really. I mean, I think with, participation in this Blackstone Collaborative and also the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program Steering Committee, I'm able to share and talk and learn that way. But I think it's a great point to bring up because our watersheds don't know any boundaries. And I do know that I don't know if there have been official cross-state boundary projects yet. I know I've seen some where there are some communities on the border who say, you know, we're doing a regional project with our town, our neighboring Massachusetts town, and our neighboring Rhode Island town. So, I mean, I think there's definitely potential to work together in the future, and definitely sharing, I think, is helpful. I don't know if that really answered your question.
No, that's fine. That's, yeah, you're totally right. This is one forum where we cross state boundaries, but we don't, you know, I think that's on me to maybe reach out more to the municipal resilience program, the Resilient Roadie program.
You know, it's easy to get stuck in your silos, and that's really what MVP is trying to do, is get people talking about, you know, housing and transportation and food insecurity, and you know, along with just, you know, what part of town floods and is going to be hit with harder, you know, stronger storms in the future.
Right.
This seems like an opening for me to raise the discussion that Hillary and I have been starting to have regional applications to MVP, including the Blackstone. So I'd like to just throw that out and see what you have to say about that at this point, and where we might go from here, because we've had some very interesting exchanges along those lines.
Was that a question for me?
I guess I'm talking to Hillary.
Yeah, I don't know, Hillary, if you're allowed to say anything right
Stephanie.
now with your applications currently in and pending also.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there's opportunities to talk about it at some point. I don't know if this is the right point in your agenda.
I guess I'll just say a summary of, I think the MVP program's goal, not to speak for you, but also the collaborative's goal, is to have communities work together. And the whole point is thinking on this bigger, broader scale, and in our case, watershed, or in MVP's case, you know, whatever region makes sense, to say what problems and vulnerabilities do we share, and what strengths do we share, and how can we leverage those across boundaries to put in projects that can improve resilience for multiple communities. So that's certainly a goal. Hopefully, you know, groups like this can help share information across some of those boundaries and get some of those goals out there. And I think a lot of the work that all of our individual groups are doing with municipalities is really helpful as well to highlight those. We would certainly encourage cross-boundary applications to the MVP or MRP programs. And I've written a lot of letters of support for communities, but I haven't seen a ton of shared programs yet. Yeah, Jen?
Thanks. I was just thinking that, so 3 of the Rhode Island municipalities selected for this round of the MRP program are in the Blackstone Watershed, Burrillville, Gloucester, and Lincoln. And so I'm wondering if perhaps an effective way to sort of cross those municipal boundaries is, and this would of course be a time commitment for someone, and I don't know if it's completely unrealistic, but having folks from maybe, you know, towns in Massachusetts attend those workshops, attend the MRP workshops, because they're going to hear firsthand, and maybe even have a meeting with them afterwards to say, all right, this is what we heard, this is what we could collaborate on. Because I think there's a lot of great resources online, and there's the summary of findings from all the communities, but are people looking at those? Are they? So I don't know if it's something to put out there, like if you have the time and inclination, could someone, you know, just put out that invite there, which may lead to something. I don't know, Hillary, what your thoughts are on
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. Part of our MVP planning kind of scope and package of information, has recommended invitees, and part of that is, your neighboring communities. And I think, I've definitely seen some, I think on the northern border, a couple of the towns in my region had some New Hampshire communities attending their planning meetings. I think there have been a couple of either Rhode Island or Connecticut bordering states that were able to get somebody. And it's challenging because it's really about capacity a lot of times. But I think the invites are there, and I've definitely seen Dr. Tapscott and people from Uxbridge sharing their expertise from their, town planning effort, with the bordering towns recently. And I think it shows, the ability to cross the borders. I do see that Bill has his hand raised and could probably speak to that probably better than I could.
No, not, you're spot on. I know when Seekonk was going through their MVP planning process, there had been a watershed plan done with EPA 5 years prior, back in 2012. So I suggested to Jen Miller, who was the lead for the town of Seekonk, the conservation agent, that she invite Bristol, Barrington, and Warren to their MVP planning process. And those invites went out. And we've tried to maintain, communications with them across the board. And one of the things we did, you're probably aware of it, Hillary, too, because you guys all talk. We've done addenda to MVP plans, individual MVP plans, where we've gotten clusters of towns together on a sub-watershed or watershed basis. And we've had some really good success up in the Canoe River, where we got a project done with Easton, Norton, and Mansfield. We're working, actually, we got a project now going with Dayton, Somerset, and Swansea. And then one of the best things I heard, I got a call for support from the Mattapoisett River Valley this year, and the towns of Rochester, Marion, Mattapoisett, Fairhaven, and Wareham were going to go in on a land application to protect the land in the Mattapoisett River Valley aquifer, which supplies water to all 5 of them. So that was great. I'd had discussion with the Buzzards Bay Coalition on that. Brendan Annett and I were talking about that, and sure enough, the application went in. So it works. Same thing happened in Plimpton too. Plimpton went in to protect a piece of land, Turkey Swamp, that affects Halifax, Middleborough, Carver, and Plimpton. So this kind of thing, cross-border communications, I always say don't be afraid to ask, for sure. And when you're doing your MVP planning or even MVP planning grants, if you think you have something regional, invite the other towns in to at least come into the planning sessions and discuss it and show why it's mutually beneficial, what the co-benefits are going to be, and that it's really not a scary process to work together to achieve some regional good.
Bill, that is such a good point. I love the idea of other groups saying, okay, we've seen all your MVP plans individually, let's do a regional addendum. I think that's such a clear deliverable for folks to say, let's all get together here. We've already kind of highlighted what some of these overlapping opportunities are. And I know, for instance, when the collaborative put in a grant to SWIG, the SNAP Watershed Implementation Grant, that was one of the things we did, was we saw that all these regional communities of Sutton, Northbridge, and Douglas, and Uxbridge had all identified culvert assessment as a top priority. And so we said, all right, well, let's put in a grant to help this specific region of communities that are all bordering to focus on this, shared need. So in a different way, kind of filling that gap, hopefully, if we get funding.
If I can add just something, just briefly, we reached across a lot of town borders as part of our MVP2 grant with a regional mosquito control conference, and informally reached across the Rhode Island border too. I think 3 summers ago, just to sort of touch bases. But crossing the state border is much more difficult. My vision and I'm glad somebody from Manchug is on here, is to look at the Mumford River as a whole regional entity, because it involves 3, 4, I think 4 MVP communities, and it's a huge tributary to the whole Blackstone Valley. So I think regionally is the way to go. I mean, just from on a lot of different levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a really important point, and maybe into the future, I don't know if MVP subgroup would be or MRP MVP subgroup would be something of interest to folks. In the interest of time, we have about 40 minutes left. I wanted to switch over, and some of this conversation can kind of still happen there too, into partner updates. So I know several of you have reached out to me about specific things you wanted to mention in this group. Please feel free to do so now. And we had one other person join us. I just wanted to offer the opportunity for him to introduce himself. Oh, he might have hopped off. Do we have Joseph? I think he popped in and popped out. Okay, never mind. Jesse, go ahead.
Hey everyone, I wanted to make a couple quick announcements to share from the Department of Sustainability and Resilience. So first, I wanted to share that we have a job opening, and I'll put the link in the chat for everyone to see. Our Senior Manager of Energy Services is posted, and the application is due June 17th. It's a new position for our department. So I'll post that. You can see that. I also wanted to announce we have an event happening next Thursday, May 26th from 5:30 to 7 at City Hall. And it will be a presentation of our recent greenhouse gas emissions inventory and what we as a department are planning to do with the results from that. It was one of our major goals in our first year of the Green Worcester Plan to complete that inventory. So we're going to have an event with that presentation. Again, I'll add our the event website. We have an Eventbrite page, so you can register there. So I'll add that link. And then I was just going to share one other thing. It's not something that my department is doing, but I don't know if Steph has shared this, but the planning department is doing a complete streets program. And you can actually go on this awesome website. They have this tool that you can enter information about streets and neighborhoods that you'd like improved for safety or bike lanes. It has a lot of cool features, and I know they're trying to get a lot of resident replies to that, so you can gather that information for their complete streets prioritization plan. So those are the 3 things I wanted to announce, and I'll add all of that to the chat now. Thanks, Steph.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I've mentioned before, Whistler's also going through its master planning process right now, the Now Next, which I think I've included a link to previously, but we can share that with you. And also apologies that it didn't get into the agenda, but the City of Worcester is also hiring for a senior planner right now, and that position is also open, so I'll put it into the notes. A lot of going on in Worcester. Oh, and Worcester also has its Tercentennial Parade coming up, which is June 11th. And I had put in, for folks who are in the upper part of the watershed, I'd put in for the different environmental groups working in that area just to march in the parade together to show how many different groups there are that are working on water quality and land protection, etc. So I have wrangled several of you into this already, but if others are interested in coming, please come march in the parade with us at 11 a.m. on June 11th, and you can reach out to me for more information. Hillary, if you want to come, you can bring your kids. It's only a mile. It ends at City Hall. So we'd love to have you. Other I don't know if we have Representative Keith still. I know that you mentioned you had an update that you wanted to provide. I don't know if we lost her. She stepped away. No updates. We usually have so many.
I have a question.
Sure.
One thing that I forgot to mention in my presentation is we just had the idea the other day of connecting ZAP to orientation activities, August 27th. You know, a lot of the local high schools aren't back in session, but some of the colleges are, or they're at least starting their orientation activities. So I was looking for folks that I could talk to rather than cold call, potentially. Maybe get an introduction to all the local universities, certainly in the Worcester area and Providence area. Those are the main focus. So if anyone can assist me with that, Professor Matheson, Stephanie, Peter, anybody who can assist with that, I would really appreciate that.
I can certainly connect you to a couple folks at Clark. I don't know if they're perfectly the right ones, but they can be a starting point. If you want to shoot me an email as a reminder too, about what you're looking for, if you want to do like a presentation or just a, you know, share a flyer for students to get in the orientation packet or whatever might be best.
Thank you.
Stephanie, just from the Blackstone River Watershed Association, we had a really good annual meeting Wednesday, and we had a well-attended both in person and online at the Grafton Library Community Room, which is a really nice venue. It's just recently been, the whole library was remodeled, and they've done a really good job of creating this community room. It has all the bells and whistles for presentations and the kitchen and everything, although they're still working out some of the food service details. But we also are upcoming, and this will be the last meeting prior to this event coming up on June 4th, Saturday, June 4th is the Family Fun Fishing Day. BRWA, Open Skies, the DCR, Blackstone, the Riverbend Farm facility. That's where it takes place in Uxbridge, and we encourage people to participate. There's information on our website, the brwa.org, and you can find out more about that.
Steph, if I could just add too, for our Rhode Island partners, we get folks from Worcester all the way down to Providence who come to this event, and some who are already signed up. So we're looking at what we think will be an excellent turnout this year. And it's a really fun event, and it's free. Food is available for purchase. And so please do come and join us.
Absolutely. I know I'll be there, and I am going to steal some letters to the river and hopefully share those with folks as well, connecting all of our different projects. And I wanted to ask, I know several folks were really interested in seeing the video of Package Jog. Is that posted online, or can it be posted online for sharing?
Yes, it is on YouTube. And then I have an MP4 that we used at our meeting on Wednesday. But it is on YouTube, so you could just Google it. Yeah.
I will include it in the notes. Thank you. And the other thing that we mentioned was this potential for maybe reaching out to some larger venues and having Kitticuck Speaks and Packagug Where the River Bends held together, because they're about an hour together, and that would be a really wonderful pairing, I think, of great videos done recently. Yeah, Paul, do you have a question?
I was just going to actually add in a quick update, if that's good time for. Okay, just a quick comments on a few of the things I've mentioned a couple things before. One of the things that we're looking at is the city of Worcester. We're interested in getting some modeling projects going, and they're starting up now. So I've had some students working on just looking at the GIS, and the thing that's of interest is the open spaces and thinking about the relationship between open spaces and both water, as well as the community, as well as just habitat in general. And I know there's been some interest. One of the things that we had thought about as well was considering, probably this is more focused in Worcester at this point anyways, but considering a workshop or a meeting to get together to gain inputs from people from the area on thoughts related to that, and in particular the needs related to that. And so we were looking at around in June sometime, like the around mid to late June, but the time frame's getting tight. We're trying to figure out the schedule, but I just figured I'd mention if there are people who are interested in that topic area and would like to connect up and coordinate on either just thinking about partnering for these issues, that would be, we'd certainly welcome that. That would be an interest. So just feel free to let me know. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. If you want to send me more information about that, or if you have a way to sign up, Yeah, I think you've got a lot of good folks on this call that would be interested.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to get some, I'll pull some information together on it and get a summary of it. And okay, great.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Anybody else have updates that they want to share? Okay, so the last point that I wanted to talk about today, and this is one of those, I always try and like sneak in something about the needs assessment report and trying to further our goal of implementing that whole thing, which is quite a challenge. So sneaking that into these meetings is talking about priority projects. So also one other note actually that I should mention is that I am very fortunate to have 2 interns starting this summer. So one is going to be under Professor John Rogan at Clark University working on GIS, and we're still tweaking what her final project will be, but I think it will be about identifying locations for nature-based solutions in Worcester and maybe also Woonsocket. So Paul, maybe we should chat about that as well, so we can build off of one another. Yeah. I don't know if you've worked with John Rogan before. I would think so, but
don't think so.
Okay, perfect. I'll send an intro email, and I think that would be really great.
Great.
And the other intern is going to be starting in June. I think both of them will be coming to our next meeting. I gave them some, a week or so off to kind of graduate and have a summer before they start working again. Just making myself a note. And she'll be kind of helping more day-to-day things and learning a little bit about all the different programs that we work with, and hopefully helping with the paddle as well. So you'll meet them. Lost my train of thought. This priority projects. So one thing that I've recently become involved in is Hopedale. So the town of Hopedale, long story, but got connected to a potential restoration project there. So they had Draper Mill, which is one of the largest, most successful cotton spinning textile mills in the region, was recently demolished, and it is on top of the Mill River, which connects into Hopedale Pond and is a tributary to the Blackstone. So there's an opportunity for redevelopment there, and the redevelopment company and the parcel owner is really interested in daylighting the river there and also not removing, but repairing the dam so it's not a significant hazard anymore. So that's something that I've been involved with and can hopefully assist with how we can incorporate nature-based solutions and low impact development into that planning process. I've also been engaged with a lot of culvert assessment programs. I recently attended a Stream Smart training program with some folks from Maine, and hopefully we're going to have a program in the fall or the spring on this Stream Smart training and thinking about stream crossings with infrastructure and how we can modify those to improve both climate resilience so they don't collapse and it's not an infrastructural issue, but also for habitat and water quality, and specifically cold water fisheries, I think is one area that we have an opportunity to work on here in the Blackstone. So those are some of the projects that I've been involved with, but I'd love to hear about other priority projects that you guys are working on, or what should be priority projects that I should be aware of. Yeah, Mark.
I'm sorry, it took me a minute to get myself unmuted here. So I just wanted to let you know that RIDOT was involved in creating a stream crossing assessment manual. We did that in cooperation with Fuss & O'Neill through a HUD development grant, and that's available online. I'll see if I can make it happen to link it into the chat. And we are following that up with a culvert design manual so that we're offering design solutions so that we're not just taking these culverts and saying, this one's bad. We're offering a series of recommendations for improving stream crossings for both wildlife passage and for fish passage as well. We've incorporated some climate change information into that as well. This is largely based on the NAAC process of assessing stream crossings, but we did take it another step further, and we did include some coastal issues, which again, the NAAC doesn't really quite yet. I don't think their module for assessing marine crossings is yet complete. So again, I'll try and figure out how to link that in the chat, and if not, then I can find another way to get that information to you. But
Yeah,
I'm
I'd
very
love to
active
talk.
in that.
I'd love to talk with you more offline about some of the specifics and logistics about that, and making sure that whatever program folks are using to assess culverts, that they can still get their data into the NAC database. Particularly in Massachusetts, it's really important that municipalities have that, so we can look regionally at which culverts are most important for replacement, so that those municipalities can then get funding for replacement.
Yeah, absolutely. And Allison helpfully put the link because she's a little more technically savvy than I am. And we also do have two of our RIDOT employees, myself and Nicole Leparachi, are both certified, whatever the proper term is, to train for stream crossing assessments as well. And we recently got one other stream coordinator in Rhode Island. So we have good resources for people who are both trained in how to complete the assessments and trainers who are available to train other folks to do these assessments. And we developed an app that it does collect all of the information. It's a GIS based app, and it allows the user to collect all of the information, and then you can batch upload the data to the NAAC database. So it's both compatible with that, but it also includes some additional information that we've used to sort of beef up the ranking scores so that it includes more parameters than the original NAAC. So it's a really impressive set of stuff. I was really proud to be involved with it. So definitely check it out if you're interested at all in stream crossing assessments. I really believe strongly that it's one of the best tools in the country. We're really out on the cutting edge, which is not often for Rhode Island to be. So I was pretty proud to be involved in that. So check it out.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Donna.
This is kind of a sidebar to the stream crossing conversation we just had, but it's stream crossing signage as what we really have talked about many times in one of our priorities is watershed education. And as many of you know, in Grafton, we have installed waterway signs. We've revised our waterway signs. We did this 20 years ago, and they were all just only 6 were left out of the 44. So it was time to renew them, which we have done. And Stephanie drove to Grafton to the library meeting last night or the other night. And she said, Donna, when I drove here, I drove over the Blackstone River and the Blackstone Canal and the Quinsigamond River.
And I knew that because of your signs.
She is a true fan and cheerleader for waterway signs throughout the watershed, as am I. So it is another community project. The highway, I worked with the highway department. I helped get a small grant to help defray the costs, but it's a great small grant proposal, I think, for all of the communities in the watershed. So.
Absolutely. And I would love to do this with other municipalities if folks are interested. I know we lost a couple of munis earlier in the conversation, but Donna gave me some information, and I think it depends on how many signs you're ordering. If you get 1 versus you get 50, but they seem to be about $200 a piece, which can certainly add up. But if communities start prioritizing where they want to put them, I don't think it'll be too much money. And certainly I'm happy to try and find grant funding for that as well. So that is one of our needs assessment report goals, is increased signage too. So I'd love to support this, Donna. Are there other projects that folks are working on that we think should be considered kind of priority projects, or things that I should be thinking about, or opportunities where I can try and help you support some of the goals you're already working on that also connect to the needs assessment report, or specific locations of projects that we'd like to work on. Big question.
Yeah, big question, big response.
Yeah.
I think regionalizing the Mumford River would be something I would be very interested in. I mean, the MVP project that we're hoping to get funded is looking at one of the major dams on the Mumford River to assess what it would be like to take it down. Basically, there are at least 5 dams on this river, and in various states of disrepair. And of course, there are ponds behind them, which people are very attached to. So if you're looking long range and big at restoring the Mumford River to its ecological integrity, it's a huge, really regional multi-town project. That would be my thought if you're asking to think big.
Yeah, I'd love to talk more about that if we can get the dam owners together, and if they're interested in learning more, maybe we can do a workshop with ER on, what would it mean if we removed those dams, and how does it affect your ponds? It won't mean your ponds entirely dry up or that you don't have water anymore. It means it's different. So think about, getting a presentation or learning more about that would be great.
Well, we're going to be doing that if we get the grant. Hillary, plug your ears. But if we get the grant, part of it is a visioning project on a small scale, which would involve property owners, the whole community, and so we'd be sort of trying it out. But it would be nice to expand that, I think.
On that topic, that's one of the things I came across during the Millbury Open Space plan, that we were concerned about the integrity of the dams in Millbury and, the effect of losing any of those. So the other aspect of that, obviously it's complicated, dam owners and money. When you say go back to ecological integrity, is that like we've already changed it, right? Like you'll restore it to what it was like, in, I don't know, 1920. Right, but you'll destroy what it is today. So is that how does that get evaluated on what it should be going forward?
It's an aspirational term. It has to be done on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
That's my response to that, I think. No. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the goal there is, getting it back to a river versus ponds and streams is one, and then making sure we can increase that connectivity of the waterways. That's something that's also been identified in the needs assessment report. So making sure that either there's fish passage around dams or the dams are removed, having natural wetlands in some areas, riverine wetland restorations and other priorities. So yeah, what exactly it looks like is, I think, like David said, it's case by case basis, but I think we have this bigger goal and picture. Yeah, Rebecca?
Yeah, just put a comment in the chat that is something that we are definitely in the forefront of thinking, Mass Wildlife. So yeah, when that discussion comes along, please include us. This is something we're tackling all over the place, from a climate resiliency perspective as well as an ecological perspective.
Yeah, thanks. Me too. I want to be involved. And regardless of MVP, I think there's an opportunity for us to have these conversations. So I'd love to talk more. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, Steph, I was just thinking, when you talk about multiple dam removals and impacts on the river in different municipalities, a nice case study might be what we went through on the Mill River. You remember that in Taunton, but we also got some dams below. I mean, we got one in Freetown. We got the Cotley River right on the Taunton Berkeley line, and I think we ended up taking down a Cotton Gin Mill in West Bridgewater. So we ended up taking down 7 dams and restored about 1,000 acres of important habitat and, you know, hundreds of acres of stream miles too. So it's a nice thing. I think DER did a nice write-up on it too. So that might be out there. It's, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good point. I think that, examples of where it's been done are really important for communities to understand how things change if you take this on. Any other thoughts, comments, questions with either stuff you're working on or goals of priority projects that I should tuck away into my brain? Okay. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time on this beautiful Friday afternoon to meet with us. If you missed anything and you want to catch it again, the recordings are always online. I'll get that out to you as soon as I can for the link. And if anyone is further down in the watershed and is interested, the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council is having an event in about 12 minutes that I'm going to run over to. And they're doing a tour of Riverside Park, they mentioned, with several EPA regional administrators and bigwig schmoozy folks. I should stop recording this. So I'm going to go say hi to them. And if anyone's around, I encourage you to stop by as well. And also a reminder that tomorrow is our Blackstone Day coming up, our third Saturday, and it will be promoting the First Strike Festival that National Park Service is doing in conjunction with House of Glitter. So there'll be performances and dancing and music and food trucks and tabling, and it'll all be kind of in commemoration and celebration of the first strike, mill strike, which was 100 women getting together, which is a great women's history moment as well, fighting for shorter hours, better pay, and they won. And it's a pretty interesting story. So hopefully we'll see you down at the Slater Mill tomorrow from 11 to 5 as well. Thank you so much and have a great weekend, everybody.